Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wineable episode. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to these two gentlemen and the lady behind the camera as well for allowing me into their home. I'm here in the Adelaide Hills. I've snuck away from the wife and children. They know that I'm here though. I haven't snuck away as in they don't know that I'm here, but I've definitely snuck away. We are here at Riposte. This is pretty much the entire operation, right? That's it.
There's one more. There's three. The three of us for the entire operations.
Big multinational corporation of three.
Yep. And then
This is world headquarters.
this is worldwide headquarters. Now, a lot of you in the industry will be familiar with Tim and some of the work that he's done, but it's not for me to tell you about what he has achieved. It's for him to tell you this is his story. So without any further ado, I would like to say thank you. And I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here. It means more than all of you actually know. So please tell us a little bit about your background, if you may.
Well, I was brought up in Clare, and I was convinced by family members to go into the wine industry because they were running an operation called the Stanley Wine Company, and they thought it would be really nice to have someone in the family who could be a winemaker. So I started my winemaking career when I was 16, and I have now done 64 consecutive vintages. Well, I'm a slow learner. I'm still getting the hang of it. So I started winemaking it was nowhere near is now. One of my first jobs was to go round in the mornings with a wheelbarrow and a sort of a rake. And in those days, we used to do fermentation, open tanks, not only red wine, but white wine as well. So we used to have white wine in open tanks that were cooled by big copper coils that had been wax coated. And the problem was it used to fall in overnight because the fermentation was giving off CO2. The possum would have a few deep breaths, get a bit how's your father, and fall on the tank. So mine was to go along, rake the possum over to the edge, pick him up, a bit of a drain, and drop him in the wheelbarrow. Carry on. So things have changed a bit.
But there's less.
Definitely less possums. What to care? Well, it's very hard to get into a stainless steel tank. You've got to really work at that if you're a possum. So, fermentation used to be done in old wooden vats. We didn't have much in the way of cooling or filtration, and it's been wonderful to watch the technical evolution as the years have gone past. Winemaking now is as technically demanding as it's ever been, probably the easiest it's ever been.
Do you find that any of the practices or the things that you did are now coming back now as things move away a little bit from the mechanical side or from the, when it's like the herbicide sides, and now it's sort of coming back away from that?
Look, to a degree, but we still ferment red wine in open tanks. That's something we were doing then, and it really allowed you to manage the cap better, to plunge it or pump it over, and see it. Seeing it is very, very important. So there are some good old-fashioned things that still work very well, but now I think we're much better served with the stuff we've got now. We've learned how to grow in new areas like this one. Big differences in the Adelaide Hills, and we bought property here in 81, so we were some of the first people in the hills. All the early pioneers in the hills actually knew how to make those. Me, Brian Crozer, Jeff Weaver, Stephen Henschke, we all knew how to make wine. What we had to do was teach ourselves how to grow grapes. And one of the things we did find out quite quickly is that, it's easy to grow grapes.
And why is that?
Because there's nowhere near the disease pressure here. Humid, high rainfall, and in Clare, vineyards used to be clean cultivated, so you'd have some nice red-brown soil, and you could actually you had very basic canopy management on your vines. They would sprawl, but they could still get ripe because you'd get reflected light off the vineyard which happened in the right wavelength to ripen grapes. Down here, because the soil is so ancient and so fragile, we run grass rows, and consequently, we've got to hang them out in the sun to get them to ripen. Different trellises. Fact that quite often in Pinot you go along and you remove leaves from the morning side vine to allow sunlight in to help help the ripening and get nice ripe flavours and good colours. So a lot of learning in viticulture. So when we moved down here, it was a whole new experience. But Claire,
More fun though, growing grapes or making the wine?
oh, I'm making wine. God,
Good question.
easy one. And I was never much good at vineyard stuff. I have a very short attention span. So I'd be driving a tractor and look behind and I would have mowed down 3 or 4 vines or something like that. I'm far better off in a winery.
That's amazing. That's incredible. 64 vintages. And that's why we're still making like too. That's weird.
This is the hangover. Somebody said to me when we first started making it, "Oh, this is your autobiography."
This is exactly what.
And this comes from a very feast of watervale. Okay, so on the best Terra Rossa soil, and the good Riesling comes from Montclair. It's not far from Florita, which is quite famous.
Oh, I think Clare Valley of Reason was just right.
Well, what? No,
I don't actually know that. Do they actually grow anything else?
they make some pretty good. They make some pretty good other things. No, top of pops is going to be Riesling.
I feel like if you are somewhere that's known for growing a particular grape style extremely well, they'll be focused on growing that grape varietal.
Well, I think they've got that pretty worked down there. There's
I know a lot in the Yarra and in other areas too that there's, we grow Cabernet well, we grow Pinot and Chardonnay incredibly well. Yes, America, Italian, Spanish.
and then there's some other stuff.
Yeah, but all that stuff that need to be there. They could take it out and put more Chardonnay, Pinot, and maybe not so much Cabernet, but they could put more Chardonnay in for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's tricky up here, but in terms of vineyards, that Dad, you ran into this issue when you had vineyards, that not every vineyard site grows everything well, because you've got a vineyard that may be 150 metres from another site, but they'll face in a different direction, they'll have a different temperature profile. What we do is we work with small growers all around the hills, and if you grow Pinot Noir really well, we want to work with you on Pinot. If you grow Chardonnay really well, you want to work with you on Chardonnay.
Yep. There is probably no vineyard in the world that does more than 2 varieties supremely well. You can't really. A vineyard you can ripen Cabernet and is going to be too hot for Pinot. It just goes saying. Yeah. So can't have it all. So we, as Nick says, we work with people whose we think produce the particular varieties we want to work with and try and stick to them.
Wow. I think there's a lot more, like, for a lot of people who don't understand, you drive through a region and see all the vineyards right there and be like, oh, I think he's planted some more over there. But that particular parcel of land may not be as fertile as the parcel right next to it.
Cool.
And it may not yield grapes just as well, but it doesn't make sense to the untrained person.
It's all, it gets the same amount of rain, it's all the same sort of dirt. Well, our asset becomes more and more important the more marginal the climate becomes. The colder it gets, the more important it is to plant reds on north-facing slopes. That gives you the maximum sunlight intercept. You can plant them on west or southeast or something like that, but Pinot's not going to do terribly well on those sites. So you do have to be quite selective about where you plant things. And unfortunately, the Adelaide Hills faces north-south, so we don't have a lot of really good high altitude north-facing sites. Which are the best Pinot sites.
So they're the Pinot sites that you're trying to find when you
Yeah, we're always looking for fruit from those that'll be over 500 metres and basically face north.
Okay.
But the good Lord in his wisdom stuck the Adelaide Hills on earth facing the wrong direction.
Did beat that one through for us once.
No. I mean, he could change water into wine, but he didn't know much about viticulture.
That's why he changed for him. Like, he did put the grapes in the right boards, so you use water to turn it into wine.
You just need to rotate the continent 90 degrees and everything will be fine.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that, like, for me, very uneducated and very, still new-ish into this world, you just see plots of land when you're driving through wine regions, and you're like, well, why can't they just plant more grapes? Like, they don't complain they don't have enough yield. Well, so much land. Just plant it outside. Like, don't worry about it. But until you actually go and speak to people working in the vineyards and in the winemakers, you actually understand that just because there's a patch of dirt there doesn't mean that it's going to grow the grapes that are going to be any good from wine.
Well, it's particularly around here because you do have so many valleys and hills and little microclimates that people did that. They planted, they're like, well, it's a dirt, I'll put X, Y, Z on there, and then complain 5 years later that they get frosted every year.
Yeah.
It's because the vines are in their own spot.
Yeah, you plant at the bottom of the hill, which is where cold air builds up deep layers. You get frost. And the difference here is that on top of the hills, there's virtually no topsoil, so it's what we call a low potential site. Means you can grow grapes there, but you may get big crops, so possibly good quality. From there, go down to the bottoms of the hills, you get deeper soil, grow more grapes. You might get frosted too. So you have
What's the biggest pressure there on the growers in this region in terms of, is it frost? Is it water? Is it, what's the biggest issue?
The biggest issue around here is probably, for out and out destruction, lousy weather at flowering time. Because, as you can see, today isn't really hot. Maximum temperature probably about 13. And grapes like to be at 15 above when they flower. And if they don't flower, the fruit doesn't set, and consequently you get a smaller crop. May be good for quality, but it's not good for the grape growers.
Yeah.
And the best guarantee for quality, in my opinion, is a profitable grower.
Yep.
Because generally, grape growers are like farm people. They want to do really well, want to grow good stuff. And if you are up against it, you might skip a spray. You might put on a bit more nitrogen and try and push the crop along, do something like that. So, if you're a profitable grower, you will probably turn out better fruit.
Now, it's very odd in principle. It's very, very difficult.
It's agriculture.
It's farming. I always explain to people when they you try and ring a winemaker or I ring a viticulturist, and you're going to get back from it for a fortnight, and they're like, on my phone. And I was like, thinking about, and then I grabbed a winemaker's phone, Sam Middleton's phone actually. He had so many missed calls and texts and read stuff, and it's like, I'm in the vineyard all the time. I'm a farm. I'm not a phone. That really is the case with winemaking, with growers. They're farmers.
Well, particularly in vintage, it goes the other way around. In vintage, you're getting phone call 20 minutes, and it might be, something happening overseas, but it might also be a truck's load from somewhere else. Yeah. You've got to get
Or the harvester can't get there, or
Oh, they'd be the worst calls. They'd be the worst calls. Calls when there's frost and when there's those kind of things they'd be heartbreak. I was at the Hill of Grace vineyard earlier, and they lost almost 10% of the vineyard to frost, and you can see.
But we saw that the other day, and we were there, and it's just like they've been scorched by fire, isn't it?
It's just like a whole stretch of brown,
Yep.
like right through the middle, the lower and middle church log. It's just brown, and then the rest of it bright green, lush, and growing.
And in really weird spots too, because we were driving through there the other day, and why is there frost on top of that fine down there? Because conventional wisdom says that should be bugged, and that one should be fine, but
the general consumer just thinks that you guys, all growers, just plant the grapes, grow the grapes, grab as much off as you can, make it in the wild. It's impossible to maximize all profit you can make and go from there. That's literally what they think, right? And when they're early on, or when they're when they don't actually take the thing, but you can have no grapes like that. Bit of hail comes through, and you can lose everything.
Well, hail is another rivet. And potential for losing big quantities of fruit is poor weather at flowering time.
yeah.
2024, wonderful year for quality, but the crop, some of the Pinot vineyard bought from around 65%. They're not on their maximum, but on their average.
Yeah. Which is it's enormous.
Yeah.
The difference in volume, and then hence in money, in income.
Well, I think these vineyards are going to provide a number of bottles, and going in the spreadsheet looks brilliant. And then find out that, your spreadsheet's only as good as the data you put in. If people are 60% down, well, you've got 60% less fruit. You've got really good fruit, or however it works out, you've just got to juggle it and manage it to get through the year after.
I think that's where we lead into the box that you guys see on the camera here, which is the main reason why I came over here, talk about that one particular one. I've had the pleasure of enjoying 3/4 of a bottle. I gave the other quarter to my, which we thoroughly enjoyed.
That was extremely generous of you.
He enjoyed it, yes. Well, you told me you wouldn't share the bottle when we were talking. You were like, I wouldn't be sharing the bottle. I did. Yeah, exactly right. And I gave some to my wife. Thoroughly, I won't repeat what she said exactly, but she thoroughly enjoyed it, we'll say. And she's a very harsh critic on wine because I give her a lot of stuff to taste to get her opinion, because I believe women are actually better tasters than men. If wines, they've got better taste buds and better smell. So I believe that they taste better. She can pick that, and she's nowhere like what I am in terms of her passion for it. But she can pick things up that I'm like, oh, really? Don't get that.
Better sense of smell. I certainly noticed when my wife was pregnant, folks in wires.
Maybe that's what wines. Without somebody to centre. Too many.
I think the problem with women is they tend to lack confidence. They are very, very good.
Generalisation.
No. That is a generalisation about tasting wine.
Yeah.
Men there.
It was a male dominated.
It is really male dominated thing about talk about wine, and they're talking about, so they don't venture an opinion, but get it right.
They do get it right.
Yeah, Dale does very well in options games going against me because I always get it wrong.
But they think even just the general public, when I do tastings, they think that they can give me a wine to know what it is. Yeah. Do you know how difficult that is to do? Yeah. I'm happy variety light or very clear. No, if they're funny and it's like a 2010 Adelaide Hills Pinot, I'd be happy if I just got Pinot. I'd be like, okay, I got that part right. I'm not a complete nutty. I got that part right, but I wouldn't. People go into this intricate
detailed description about it. I'm like, no, we don't need to do that.
Well, look, the only I've ever seen do it really was Len Evans, and Len could do it because he tried most of the great wines of the world, and he had a good memory.
Yep.
But if you'd never tried them before, the best you can do is speculate and use your experience. Well, it doesn't look like an Australian wine, or if it's a Pinot, no, it doesn't quite look like that. Or maybe it's Yarra, maybe it's somewhere else. But if you don't know it, you haven't got hope.
You have to try more. Just dress so many.
One more. Try and we don't say drink more. Possibly well try and
more wine. Yeah, exactly.
It's difficult for a lot of people to try. We're very lucky that we get to taste a lot of wines over the course of a day or a few hours, but dinner public just drink a bottle.
If you drink a bottle singularly, like you go out for dinner and you have a bottle of wine, and then you see your dinner in 10 days' time, you really don't learn anything. The only way we in the industry learn is by doing competitive tastings on lineups of various wines. Lineup of Riesling, and in that there'll be one terrifically good Riesling, and that's the marker. Why that's so good? Well, look at the others, see what they lack. But if you don't do that, try and learn about wine, individual bottle. It's very, very difficult.
I do get to do a lot of tastings where you don't have any idea what it is, and you're just drilling down on what you think makes a good wine, and it's entirely objective to a wine. There are some subjective things that but it's actually pretty rare that they list of wines and go, well, which one do you want to take home and drink? Because you're constantly dissecting and blend.
But everybody will get, if we did a wine now with the four of us, everyone would pick a different wine to take home and brew. And that's the beauty of what should be okay. It should be rewarded. It shouldn't be, or you don't, I dispress, or I'm right, you're wrong. That's just completely the opposite of what, and that's why people are hesitant to go to venture into wine further, because they feel like they're going to be knocked on the head if they get something wrong. Like, I get things wrong all the time. I went to boys with Brendo and Henry and that channel, and they did a lineup of 6 wines, but they gave me one at a time, told me they were all 6 of the same, they were all the same varietal, but they were all different wines. And they said, give me 6 in a row. They were going to give me 1 glass at a time. And I had the first one, and I was 100% confident that it was Chardonnay. It was reductive, it was flint, it was like with an O, and I was like 100%. I got to the second, like, if it's Chardonnay, it's not from Australia, it's somewhere different. And by the one, I'm like, this is 100% not Chardonnay. This is Sauvignon Blanc or Fiano or something different. And it was. But if I would have had all 6 in front of me, I would have picked it.
I picked it straight away.
But because I got one at a time and I was so confident, I stuck with it. But in a group environment too, people get swayed. like, with yourself, they say, well, this guy's, he must have had thousands of wine in his life, right? If he says this is Adelaide Hills, I'm going to go and I'm going to jump on board and say it's Adelaide Hill Pinot. But you say yourself, you get it right.
Absolutely. But it's interesting that if you give them a lineup, they get hopelessly confused after about half a dozen.
It's hard to tell about wines.
Yeah, we had a wonderful occasion once where I've been a wine judge for a long, long time, and I was the chair of the National Climate Wine Show at Bathurst for 20 years. Glutton for punish, but we all used to be hosted by one very generous guy and his wife, and Dale stayed to judge the sparkling wine. Oh, what a great idea. So we with a lineup, and I think there are about 20 wines, and so these two ladies were there with their clip. They had their white coats, and they looked terribly professional, and I sidled up. I'd have a number 7. Don't tell me what to do. So anyway, 8 wines, total and utter confusion, and it wasn't it? And number 7 got up, by the way, and next year we did a pre-judge and cut it for a dozen for them. 20 wines, particularly sparklings, which are very similar. Yeah. It's dreadfully difficult.
I've done 5 shows now as an associate coach. It's a lot of wine. We did, like, the last show I did in Swan Hill, which was the inland wine. There was like 96 wines.
That's a small class. It was that the whole show.
Yeah, I did 96 in the day, but hang on. Hey,
It's a lot of wine.
it's a lot of wine when you're drinking fortifieds, you're drinking botrytis, Rieslings, all these, and then trying to throw in sparklings, Moscatos. Like, it's a lot of wine. And the sparkling bracket was hard.
The hardest day I've ever done wine show judging was in Cowra, where our whole day was 120 Shiraz. It was one class.
Oh,
And we had 15 or 20 callbacks. So we did 160 Shiraz in a day, and that was by torture. The skin on the inside of my mouth was literally coming off.
my worst was in Perth with 180 Shirazes for the day.
You're pretty quick though, right? Like, you're getting through.
It's a struggle. It really is a struggle. The best thing you can do is to break it up into groups. You go and nose 10, and then you write your comments, and you go and do the next 10, and so on and so forth. And if as a group you're comfortable judging together, you might someone to start on the far end and work back. You'll start on the number 1 and work down, and maybe you can get someone to take a chop out of the middle. That way you get a fresh palate to approach each end of the class. So, but 60, this was 100 Shirazes, and they were all the same class. They were all Shiraz from a particular bad when you can sort of break them up into subgroups, but that's torture.
Especially more of a Riesling sort of brooker, right? To have 180 Shiraz is it's not enjoyable for anybody, I don't reckon.
No, hard work. Actually, the worst still is 180 Cabernets. They are the toughest.
I spent I was sick.
There's green cannons.
Not that much fun either.
Oh, like, hey, mate, you've got Cabernet this afternoon. I'd be like, so well all of a sudden, I could do that anymore.
Gastro, it's not from a big night last night.
No, man,
Definitely gastro.
yeah, definitely something sinister.
Oh, I've been changed to reason. I'm fine. I'm good to go.
Yeah, and if you're on the reason, better now, magically. But you said 64 vintages. Now, obviously, then rip-offs.
No. I started working at the Stanley Wine Company, which was a family company in Clare, and in 19 out on my own. And when the place that started off being called Enterprise Wine became Tim Napstein, and it got involved in the Adelaide Hills in 91. We were making a few Adelaide Hills wines at Clare at that stage, and moved here full-time in 1994. So I spent a long, long time in Clare, and looking back on it, as I say, easy it was to grow grapes up there.
This is a pretty mad.
This is a beautiful place. Look, the Adelaide Hills are just wonderful. I think that the Adelaide Hills is making areas in Australia because we have got a great diversity of varieties. We've got a bunch of young winemakers who are really trying hard to make excellent wine. There's an underlying pursuit of excellence here, which is good. Some people go about it in very strange ways, but I think the game is going forward. A lot of the older areas just sort of sit on their laurels. So it's a great area. It's an exciting place, and best of all, it's only 35 minutes from Adelaide.
Yeah, it's really not far.
It's not a bad face, Adelaide, in that you've got Maclaren, Adelaide Hills, Barossa, Eden Valley.
An hour and a bit.
Maybe an hour and a bit off the city.
So what I approve in phase is can flying drive down and go back home all in a day's work.
You don't know about that to it?
No.
This is straight back to the airport and straight on this one. This is more of a test to see how the day trips work, because with so many children and young children, it's quite difficult to get away all the time. I'd love to do this all the time. I'd love to.
They might not love you to do it all the time.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of kids and a lot of,
Everything else that goes with it. What are you pouring in our glass now?
I was going to say, would you like dry Pinot? Even.
I think what we should do, why don't we talk about the Pinot?
Okay.
So we can the Pinot, the Pinot Noir. So this is something, literally says on the label, this is the Pinot I've wanted to make for 35 years. So my question to you becomes, why did it take 35 years to make it?
I had to learn how to do it first. This is winemaking still an experience. You try and improve year on year, but 24 was an opportunity because it was a sensational year for Pinot. Low crops and a lot of what we call hens and chick size and part size berries. So you get a very high ratio of skin to juice. Most of your flavour and tannin is in a layer just below the skin. So hence more flavour, tannin, good colour. Everything just came in good. Nick calls it a Goldilocks year for Pinot. And apart from the growers who had miserable little crops, it has been a Goldilocks year for Pinot quality.
Yeah.
As low cropping, ripen slowly, lots of hens and chicken. And now we're talking about how good the year was, and then thinking about this and thinking of the years that we could compare it to. And really, for me, I'd never a better year than this, and reckon it's what, 02 maybe?
I reckon, look, I'm sure that this is the best Pinot year in the city. It's just, it had everything. It had low crop, cool ripening period, but sunny, ripe early. One of the vineyards, this was 3 barrels out of 6 barrels, so very, very. And one of the lines that went into this was multi-clonal. It was a vineyard that we normally got 9 tonne from, and I think we got 3. So lots of clones fermented together. It was complex. It was retraded, and there were several barrels that just being something spectacular. And I had said before 24 concept, let's make this wine be from this year, because there was so little Pinot, seemingly so little Pinot around. I didn't think we could. But in the end, the barrels just stood up and said, "Hello, Graham," and we managed to put it together.
So 3 barrels?
3 barrels, three different vineyards. One's from over there, one's from out Kenton Valley, and one's Piccadilly.
Okay.
Wow.
And they all brought something completely different to the table. The thing that impresses me most about this, now that it's in bottle, and after we've looked at it a couple of times, is and the colour and the length of it.
The length was remarkable.
Pretty immense, Pinot.
But the length wasn't even when I had it the other night. Said that it's long, but it's very light and delicate in the length. Like, it's not aggressive because it's powerful, hugely powerful. It's just letting you know continuously that it's still there.
It just persists.
Yeah.
When we chose the barrels for this wine, none of the barrels were brand new oak. Now, brand new oak looks, when you're looking at it, but it looks like brand new oak, some wine underneath it. It's pretty obvious. And we didn't want the biggest Pinot. We wanted to put together what we thought was the best Pinot with the best balance of tannin, the best balance and acid.
So these barrels, second fill, third fill.
One was second fill, and I think another was third. And in the end, we used a little bit of brand new oak from another barrique of one of the wines. So they each came from batches. Yep. So these were actually the best barrel of a particular batch.
Yeah.
And we did put a bit of brand new oak just to give it a little tiny kick of new oak.
And then on the other side, I think the oldest barrel that went into this was a 2015. So
yeah, the oldest one was quite old.
Yep, so screw up filling it, filled the barrel, and she came up really beautifully.
Amazing how it works, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The skill is picking it. Yeah.
The barrel tasting, right?
Well, we did, and also 67 barrels. Well, the total was over 80, and the others fell into Dagger, which is our entry level and which is largely unoaked.
Okay.
So we'd already done one selection. We'd whittled it down from 80 odd to 67, and then we found our best 3-barrel into the Pinot, and. I particularly love the tannin structure about it. It starts in mid-palate, goes right through, gives some depth and some presence, but without being, hot grippy, and you don't have to arm wrestle it. There's a tendency in all sorts of red wine that if people do a reserve, label their reserves the oakiest and most tannic red that they've got, big, solid, let's let them plenty of wine. But we thought, no, let's give them something that's really smart and balanced and perfumed and just hopefully does everything.
Of what you for such a long time.
Yeah, very much. All winemakers want a leg.
Yeah, of course. I think that's probably everybody wants it. Everyone wants it. A lot of children, I guess you for them of something. I don't want them to just have a cellar they can go and smash down, which I'm sure that they'll do. But, even I want to create something then to leave for them. And I think that's just part of, especially with you're creating something, right? So it's artists creating something.
Create something that hopefully no one else can create. So, yes.
Well, that's literally they've gone. You may never do this again at one level.
Possibly not.
And that's and I think that's one thing that
probably waited 20 years for this. I'm not sure another 20 years in me.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing, right? Some wineries, I'm not going to name any names. Obviously, every vintage that comes out is the best vintage they've made.
But it's not as good as next year's.
It's right. Next year, do be better.
Yeah, no.
But that's then from marketing, right? And a wine seller get that. But when somebody turns around and says, "You said what you tried this once before in 2010," did you say? You thought about doing this?
No, we've had it. We did a tiny little bit of a up Pinot in 2016 because we thought 2016 was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the next year that's even come close was 2024, but 2024 was several orders of magnitude. And there was so little of it, we felt that we had to put something together because vintages like this don't come around very often.
And I think that gives it more power and more drive. The fact that it really isn't something that you've done 15 times in the last 20 years. You've done it once.
I'll give you that later. And now there's no coming out. No.
Well, that's the hot tip. That's the really hot tip. We tasted those barrels and they're not up to, they're right up to this one.
It just wasn't at that moment. It was a good year, but tiny barrels that jumped out that said, actually, here's something pretty special. You'd be ashamed to put this in with the rest of it. 2015 was a good year. It was but there wasn't a patch on 2024.
So you thought this wine was possible once they were all in their barrels and you were tasting through the barrels, or did you get an inkling wrong?
No. We'd actually made the wines, they're all in barrel. We were doing a tasting, and if I have a skill, it is actually blending. And I've saw these wines come up and I thought they're very special. I just wonder. And I think I sneaked and did it and said to Nick,
and that was it.
Oh, we played around with it for a while.
And that was like the murder when you were
that was the eureka moment.
Yeah. We also didn't have to sit down, run the...
Well, there's really only 3 people that need to vote aye, right? I knew if 2 vote aye, then that motion passed, right?
Just said, let's do it, and let's do it properly.
So was the name difficult?
The name was difficult. We were trying to call the something. And Nick just said, why don't we call it Pinot? But yeah, why not?
No, we wanted to make Pinot we could out of the year from one of the best vintages we've ever seen. So why stuff around calling it the periwinkle or the ever or whatever the hell is the Pinot?
It's important. The name is important. The label is important. The packaging is important. Like these more than ever now, people are just buying with their eyes.
Yep.
When they're spending a good amount of their hard-earned dollars, it's even more important. Because it's a difference to what's in the bottle, whatever the label looks like, whatever the, stickers in the colour it is. But people do, it is in people. I love the bottle numbers. I am a massive fan of that. I don't care about the pH or the vineyard site or the new moon pick or the date. Yeah, I care about how many bottles you made and what number I've got. And I like the wine maker signature, and I like, on this particular bottle, I like the quote on the back. This is the Pinot I wanted to make 35 years.
Tasting note.
That's it.
Well, because if you gave everyone the tasting notes, then all you would read in people's tasting notes is whatever you wrote.
They would just read and say, cherries, yep, small bunch, yep, spicy, yep, but sell it for 25.
Got it. And that's all they'd say.
But like when I tasted with you the other night, I decanted it, like you told me, for an hour, but I didn't smell it or taste it until we were on camera, until we were on the Zoom call, whatever it was called, wrong. Because I didn't want to have a preconceived.
Sure.
So when I gave you my opinion on it, I wanted it to be my honest opinion on what that was right then and there.
You didn't know whether it was on the left side of the hill, the right side of the hill, what.
This or cared,
Do much research.
or cared less.
Just to the top of.
But I watch a lot of content and a lot of YouTube stuff, and I find that people do a lot of research, and it's fantastic. But I just don't feel like you get the genuine, honest opinion from people, because you have a preconceived conception of what this should be. I've read it all now, all the history in the background and everything that Luke and you guys sent me through. I've read it all now, but I hadn't read it before I tried the wine.
But a first opinion is not really a first opinion if it's an educated first opinion.
And asked you what vintage, Stephen asked me what vintage it was, and I said, I think it's 24. I'm going to go check on my photo, because actually, even in my head, I hadn't commuted what vintage it was again. I think it's lovely wine. It's absolutely lovely.
Our previous best.
I think we should, to consider.
I think it was 16 reserve.
It's going to be rude to leave it sitting there without being tried.
We were already taken out of the shed. We'll make it.
I'll only have to carry it back.
We're not here to show off the bottle.
So this is 2016.
This is 2016.
It's not the regular 2016 Sabre. Get something.
No, this one.
And all the names have a tie to swords.
Edged weapons of some.
Is that scripture of a love of edged weapons? Or
No. It was basically because we'd had a bit of corporate misfortune with some Sydney investors, and we wanted a bit of a comeback label, and we thought riposte was good because verbally it's a quick retort, and in fencing it's a quick counterstroke.
yeah.
So we thought, we'll go with the fencer. He's become our logo, and we've called most of the wines edged weapons.
To be honest, you've really glossed over the fact that it was more of a easiest way that you could find to get the stiff middle.
Well, I fencer is me doing that to our ex-partners.
Yeah. Yep.
So
It's amazing how many businesses fail when they're not your own, right? When they're with somebody else.
Funny how that works.
Both my parents have been through that as well. I was lucky. I had 13 years with my business partner, and we didn't so much as have an argument once, I don't think, because we were both so different.
Yeah.
And so in our own, we stayed in our own lane of our business, which was only carpentry, wasn't anything fancy. We did bring the
Well, carpentry, it's one of the few professions that won't get taken over by AI too much, because some of
no, I'm not in there on the tools. I might have to go back to carpentry. My job as well.
apprentices.
That's one thing I don't need any more of, apprentices. So 2016.
2016 was, I think, the hottest vintage in the last 20 years, but not reflected so much in the wine. But it's more of a style change. Back in 2016, we were not doing any whole bunch, no carbonic fermentation, and mine, it's got big structure and it's rich and generous, but it doesn't have the perfume that the 24 has. And I think that's because it didn't do any whole wine. So, it's a pretty solid, drinkable, rich wine, but it just doesn't have the extra perfume that the pours do.
Well, it lacks an extra dimension, also that length, but it's being a bit of a, glossing over the fact that we didn't used to do any whole bunch fermentation, get a little bit nerdy. But when Pinot ripens, you generally have green stalks. Throw the green stalks into a fermenter and keep covering it with juice, you pull out green sappy tannin. That didn't want green sappy tannins until, walking past someone else's fermenter in a winery, he noticed that rather than putting the whole bunch where they get a chance to dry out, the stalks will go out, so you didn't get that green sap like that.
And you don't plunge them, you pump them over so that the whole stuff stays on top. And the stems will dry out.
Which even after, that would have been his 59th or 60th vintage, he'll still grab a nice
Slow learner.
run with it, or someone comes in and says, I'm going to do something this way, he'll immediately sideload and go, Roy, why are you doing that? And watch achieve it.
Yeah, we tried that 20 years ago and didn't.
And sometimes they'll say, yes, that went through an IMBO phase in 1980, but it was bad for these reasons. Or sometimes we'll sit there and there's a whole bunch of young winemakers come through and they'll go, that's a really good idea. Let's have a crack with that and see what that does.
That's the importance then of winemakers today, young winemakers, traveling around the world and learning from not different winemakers, but different soils, different everything, just to bring back little pieces, little nuggets of gold.
And from other, because you may disagree with everything about they do, apart from they do something in a process you've never thought of.
Everybody does something better than you.
Yep.
You just got to find them all.
Just got to find them. Put them together for little half percenters. They're the ones. They just slowly build your quality.
Yeah. Which is
all this actually starting to get a little bit of perfume, but it just doesn't have the lift that befores have.
Also doesn't quite the same drive and weight either.
But I mean, it's unmistakably Pinot.
And a mistake about Adelaide Hills.
So I mean, now that I felt like, yes, now I'm going to be like, every time I find those in a glass, I'm always going to pick Adelaide Hills now. I'll probably
never pick it again. Excuse me.
So we do.
Sorry, try to put that aside. Whenever you've got a date free, they'll book it.
I think Luke's sent some dates across because it expires, right?
It does.
Yep. In the presentation box, 6 bottles in all random numbered.
May not be totally, but they're certainly not. They're certainly in order.
Yeah, well, they're in order because you just grab some out and drink.
Don't bingo.
Yeah. No. Well, that's the beauty of it. As long as it doesn't get there. If someone finds number 1, you have to send it back, okay? Because number 1.
They will notice when they arrive that each box, the shipper has been individual. We know which one came off the bottling line at which point, and we will keep a record of who's got what.
Which one would be 1 and which one's likely to be 900?
Bottles, right?
Likely.
How many are you keeping? Roughly?
No.
Enough.
No.
So there's not many 6-packs going out to people.
No, there's not. And the plan is that we'll keep enough that as a follow-up, to have a look at them 6 years. Yep, and do some content based on that, how it's developing, how it's showing, updates on what else is going on, because it's a baby. It's a 2024. It is going to develop over time and change. And
now what? 9 years old.
9 years old.
So where, in your expert humble opinion, in 9 years' time, what's that going to be sitting like in its lifespan? It's an awful question to ask somebody how long the wine's going to go. But it's impossible to answer. Do you feel that would be sitting in 9?
Look, most of our Pinots will do 10 years in bottle. A bottle isn't a magic container. What goes into it is what comes in the end. And the Pinot, it'll always have a balance. It'll always have slightly more lift than this one has. It'll be a function of an age. I personally don't like drinking Pinots 10 years old. I'd rather drink them at 5. I like wine to have. I think that after all, wine should taste like grapes.
Yep.
So developed characters are very nice, and a lot of people like wine characters, but I'd rather see them where you've got a nice amalgam of developed character and still varietal fruit. So I think the Pinot will handle tears fairly comfortably, but
there's no.
It'll always be a different because it's a bit finer, it's perfumed. It'll just different.
And it's fine.
It is a tricky one. Now, if someone says, how long will it last? Well, how do we know when you like drinking it? As long as bright and prime, leave it for 10 years. If you like really secondary, leave it. Now, we're judging at wine shows and you go to dinners and someone will pull out something that's really old and you look at it in the glass and say, that's a wine. It is incredibly interesting of how that's developed. This is a great experience. Is it a good? Sometimes, but not necessarily always.
Quite often the exciting thing about an old wine survive.
Yeah.
I've seen a few more wines that have been made by, well, one of them was the 54 vintage. Do you remember at Cowra? Now that was something like 2 years old at the time, and it was sensationally good.
Right.
But we've seen other 50-year-old wines that have just been big, solid, dodgy, still hanging together. And the exciting thing about those wines, hey, they made it through 50 years.
Yeah, and it's amazing experientially and think, you're taking something that the last time it was really seen by anyone was 50 years, a reflection of that summer in 1950, whatever, that you see again. But is it something you want to slurp down, several glasses of? No, because it's an incredibly technically interesting thing without necessarily being the greatest drink.
People ask their own what they like rather than what somebody tells them or when they drink it according to their palate, right? And that's where I think a lot of people get nitpicks of, like wine is scary because this person's told me that this drink from 2030 to 2047, whereas no, if you want to drink all 6 wines in the next 6 months, please feel free to drip those wines in the next 6 months, enjoy them, please, and then come and buy another 6 and drink them over the next 6 months.
Look, if you want to drink all 6 next Friday, is that true? So if you're going to eat with friends. But
Exactly right.
no,
We always drink responsibly.
always 100%.
Just making sure we got that one.
But no, I think that and hopefully that shift is happening now where people are, and wines are being made to be consumed younger and fresher now because that's what 99% of all wine bought is consumed within 8 hours of being purchased. The 1%, which is us who collect wine, we're such a minute part of wine. We think we're like the bees that's connected in wine and we're all important and, we're like them. Everyone collects what we do. Well, no, they don't.
Do you not have that in your cellar?
I have 5 wine fridges in my garage. My friends think I'm mad. I have a cellar off-site and 5 wine fridges in my garage. Okay, people think I'm crazy, but I like to drink my wines younger and fresher. Look, I raced a 21 Villa Grace today. It was stunning.
I totally agree and believe that now with screw cap we take away the lottery that cork was, and we're making better, more interesting malts than we were 50 years ago. And under a perfect seal, which screw cap very, very, very nearly is, those wines are going to be around for a long time.
That's my children are getting drinking wines at their 50th and 60th years that are still fresh and fruit driven and yes, secondary and all of that is going to be there, but they're still going to have such lift and fruit.
Well, they're not going to have to throw 2 out of the dozen because they've got cork taint, another 4 the dozen because they've got random oxidation, which is not random, and they might get 3 or 4.
You throw 50% of every white Burgundy from 2000 to 2013, you throw 50% of them away.
Which is a really expensive way to be drinking.
Oh, it's so it hurts. Every time you smell one, you're like, oh no, another one. But
well, and then you there we go, no, maybe it'll buff, and then there's that one that goes, no, that's rooted.
it's like when, you get a wine Brett. Now, I personally don't like Brett at all. And some people sit there like, it'll blow off. I'm like, it ain't blow.
No.
So it's going to get, we'll give it a minute. It's going to get worse in a minute, mate. It's not any better.
Best player is down the sink. There is a lawyer, you start all over again.
And they try and convince you that it's not that. I'm like, mate, I'm telling you.
If it tastes like licking a...
Or Nick Dawes can ask.
No, well, I don't need to because I've got really bready wines.
If I'm just wondering, if ever now, like you're in the stable on your own, you're just like, is that?
Sources. No, I don't need to. Like, you may as well just buy cat food. It's the end result anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Nick and I once belonged to a beefsteak and burgundy club, and one night, I think I was the wine master at the time, and there was some horribly corked red wine. And it was poured, and I said, guys, this is corked. Oh, okay. I said, well, tell you what, we'll pour a glass anyway, and really good idea, so people one against the real one. And lovely. They drank both. Nobody made the slightest comment. I thought, no, okay, it was a bit of a waste of time.
No. But you industry as well, you get people that they wanted, big note themselves, but they want to, drink wine for a long time. They want to say something, and then they get winemakers or wine drinkers, and they want to think they have more than what they really have. And then you also don't want to put them down either, right? You want to be like, you're wrong. And that's something sometimes you need to.
Well, sometimes you need to do it in a really nice and
Always kind.
and always gentle way. And it always starts with, thank you so much for bringing such a special wine. Unfortunately, it's fucked.
I like the thank you, but can you go sit back down and see for me, please?
And it's a real shame that is because that could have been a lovely wine. I'm not putting it in my mouth.
I think you just have to be confident to recognise that something's not 100% right, or something's got a fault, call it out, and then be comfortable tipping it away. And just understand that it's nothing to do. You're not being maker, or you're not being mean to the grape grower. It's just, unfortunately, that bottle didn't live up to the standard.
It doesn't matter what's on if it has faults or if it's corked or whatever. It could have cost you $10,000 and pour it out.
Do you feel like all wineries should move to screw cap?
Absolutely.
There's no place to cork anymore.
Any for natural, it's too much. When it works, but frequently it doesn't. You'll open a dozen of wine cork, and you'll find one that is real, and you'll find they're okay, and we've got random oxidation, and few more start to. They get because there's a little bit of TCA there, and it's depressing the fruit. But you'll probably find you've got at least different wines out of your dozen. You open something under the cap, bottle number 12 is going to look very like bottle number 1. And this is why work your boss, a winemaker, to have you exposed to a lot of it just doesn't make sense.
Well, basically, the effort you put into giving it into something you have no control over.
Absolutely.
Think about it, that if someone came now, if we'd been screw caps for 80 years and tried to sell, would it work? We've got this great new product. It makes your Bologna's up on average 10% of your wines.
If you're doing
Wine doesn't maintain different. You're at.
And besides which it's quite expensive, and it doesn't look all that good, so you've got to put an even lead capsule over the top.
Yeah.
But it's that whole nostalgia of opening it. Totally enjoy it. We all enjoy opening for.
That's only because we've been here for 300 years.
Yeah.
We go back lead stoppers and terracotta amphora. I think that's the key.
I think just
New fag is good.
this whole notion that wine is inferior or cheaper wine is just complete and utter nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Some of the goods in the world are now under screw cap.
And there's a reason for that. They want them all to be.
Well, sometimes why put all of that hard work, blood, sweat, 64 or 65 vintages of work, and then put a bit of mad?
You expose it to a lottery. Yeah.
Literally. That's a really great way. That's made for a great little snippet. But we come back to the Pinot Noir, which is obviously this beautiful timber box here. There's even a book in there.
Look, it tells you everything about it.
Wow. I really like the font, and I like the colouring, the silver with the black. The Pinot I wanted to make 35 years. I feel like that's the slogan, isn't it?
Did she tasted a barrel sample.
In barrels,
Yeah, she doesn't have a finished sample. Erin, if you're watching, you do have one. I'll send it to her.
It wasn't actually a barrel sample. It was a pre-bottling sample. The blend was together.
Well, Jukesy loved it.
Juicy deals.
He absolutely loved it.
Enjoyed it. T. Watson wrote an essay about it.
Yeah, and Max Allen wrote a really nice piece about it. So in here we have all of the wine nerd
technical information.
Yeah. This is for the sommeliers amongst you.
This is the stuff that we didn't need on the label. We didn't need the vineyard elevation, the aspect, the pick date, the Bonnet, the pH, the acid, the tons. Although there's a lot of people that are very interested in this information, so I love that it's in there.
And we did want to mention who grew it because that is incredibly important.
Well, I mean, it's incredibly important to acknowledge the people. Drink Me's lines with your. No, I'm truly. It truly does mean a lot to me to be here and to be able to get this story across. And I hope that I can help in that regard, because I think that there is some things and some legacies that need to be shared and explained to the next generation. It's the next generation after that. Because my generation, our generation, how old are you? Just saying me, roughly
42.
Yeah, so we're very close. We're like 2 years apart. We're already into wine and we know the history. It's that next generation that we need to get through and understand where these wines in these regions, because you planted in 81 in Adelaide Hills, right? Yeah. Stephen says he was first. Prue says you were at the same time. So
We were first.
Okay, there you go. So we'll go.
No, there is. They are correct now because they own the vineyard.
Okay.
We planted around here.
Yeah.
We bought vineyard in 1981 and planted in 1981. They bought they bought the area in 1981 and planted in 1982. Jeff Weaver, just over the hill, bought in 1982 and planted in 1982. So we were first, but they bought the vineyard, so now they're first.
Except all of the vines are gone because of the bushfires. So,
but the amazing thing is though that, you were there just last week with them, and I'm sure that, all you guys who planted at that time, I would assume you would catch up reasonably free.
Very seldom.
Yep. But you did a lot back in the day, drink a lot together, and
No, we all went our sort of separate little way because we're all based in different places. I was based in Clare, Henschke's in Cainton, Jeff Weaver used to work for Hardy's, I think, at that stage.
but everyone sort of took a different, even as the region was growing, focus on Pinot was very early on for you. Although the first couple of Pinots that you made ended up at Clare Valley Cabernet, didn't they?
Oh, they ended up as topping material.
But Jeff really took on Sauvignon Blanc and whites, and Henschke's. What was on theirs originally? They were Abbott's Prayer. They were Merlot and Cabernet. So it was, and a lot of the subsequent plantings in the Adelaide Hills were varieties Cabernet was quite widely planted until people realised that it was green and mean and leafy and not very exciting. And we just in a menthol cigarette.
Yeah, something like that.
Sounds horrible. It was not great.
It wasn't good, but
On every level.
But interestingly enough, it was useful in warm climate blends because it had the leafy character that lifted up the normal Cabernet character. So a little bit of it was good, but a lot of it was horrible.
people always ask the question, if you were on a desert island, what wine would you drink? Blah, blah, blah. What's your favourite wine? I'm sick of that question. What's your favourite wine? It's a horrible question. If you could only drink one wine that you had made yourself, so one you've made, what would it be?
What do you mean, a variety or a particular wine?
It could be either. You can tell, but it has to be something you've made.
Easy peasy.
That's fantastic.
Second one, probably Riesling.
Riesling. Pinot and Riesling. And you had to pick a Pinot?
Oh, well, while that one holds out, stocks of the Pinot hold out, I think that's the best one we've done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I can't see any reason why I'd want to deviate.
Yep.
Although the 24 Saber's not a bad fallback.
It depends on the temperature of the island.
I just got always those same questions, what's your favourite wine ever? And I've had that, it's hard to pick a favourite wine from the year, let alone that I've ever consumed.
I would hate to have to drink one thing over and over again. That's what.
all she was Cabernet. I couldn't get that in Europe. So,
Can you, 3 weeks in, the gloss is worn off. All you've got to drink is, the same Cabernet or the same Chardonnay or whatever. You just want something different by that point, wouldn't you?
Yep. You need variety. And I think drinking a variety in wines helps appreciate wine in general more. If you're just drinking New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, you're not going to appreciate the nuances of of Adelaide Hills Chardonnay or something. You know, you're not gonna get it. You need to taste a water. I drink so much wine that I don't like. It's not even funny. Doesn't mean it's not great wine. It just means I don't like it.
But you also do that to get surprises you didn't think that you would enjoy. Like last night, what did you bring over the
Giaconda Roussan,
Oh,
which was amazingly different. And it was a bloody good wine too.
Usually made.
but a beautiful
Balance.
vineyard. Have you seen?
No,
So where Giaconda is in Beechworth, which is sort of out of Beechworth, they're the only one that has this really of like granite sort of rock inside the soil. And so he runs down the hill, but then he has a north-facing amphitheatre vineyard for the Roussan. So it literally is a horseshoe vineyard. And as you go through the vineyard, walk through it, or you drive through an instructor with him, you can actually see the vines where there is the rock underneath, where they're not getting enough water. Because like in the middle of they're all very big, and then you'll get a really narrow stalk or one that has like yellowing leaves in the middle of vintage or whatever, because hasn't got enough water. But the vine 2 meters to its left is lush and plush and full of life. Like it's literally, and it's a perfect angled horseshoe facing directly opposite to all the other Chardonnay and Pinot vines.
But sounds like the sort of dirt that you hear about in the Rhone, where Roussan has grown.
It's a cracking wine. And if you can't get your hands on the Chardonnay, then I mean it's an absolute cracking fallback.
drink the Rousseau.
Well, we buy Rick's barrels. We buy a lot of those.
Dougie as well. Rick and Doug.
I don't buy Dougie.
You don't buy Dougie, just barrels. Like barrels.
You know, they've been doing it for a long time now.
Dougie really well.
What? They put a lot of effort and research into what they're doing, and a lot of effort into the barrels that they sell.
And they're not a huge cooperage either. They don't, compared to some of the other coopers we use, their production's tiny.
But I'm going to say a massive thank you to you both for having me here, to everybody for having me here, actually. And cheers to the Pinot Noir, which is now released and available, but I'll let Luke do with that part. And bottled on the 15 will be thoroughly enjoyed. I will admit that. So cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Connect. Thank you, Tim. Thank you very kindly. I appreciate it greatly. And we are, the One Animal is out. Done.